Hi, my name's Amber, and I'm going to tell you about some bacterial diseases that changed the world. First of all, did you know that the bubonic plague still occurs in places like South America and Africa today, with thousands of cases being reported each year? And according to the World Health Organization, an average of 7 cases occur in the United States each year. Now I'm going to ask you, have you been sick lately? And do you think it was caused by a bacteria? Because most likely it was. Even though these diseases can be caused by other things like viruses and fungi and other things like that, a lot of diseases are actually caused by bacteria. One of the reasons I decided to talk about this topic was because I'm in a microbiology class right now, and we are learning a lot about these different microorganisms and things. And I think it's very important to know about this topic so you can let your loved ones know how to be safe with these different types of bacteria. So what I'm going to tell you about today is we're going to talk about some of the history and some of the names of people that have been very important to the study of microbiology and bacterial diseases. We're also going to name a few bacterial diseases that we face today, and also we're going to talk about some ways to prevent and treat these diseases. So some of the history is that in the 1300s the bubonic plague occurred, also known as the Black Death. And this disease is caused by a bacteria called Yersinia pestis, which is spread by fleas on rats, and it spread all over the world and ended up killing 1/3 of the world's population at the time, which was 75 to 200 million people. Another thing that we dealt with in the 1800s and 1900s was tuberculosis, which is caused by the Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it ends up killing 50% of the people it infects, even still today. Some of the important people that were a part of identifying tuberculosis was Robert Koch, and he was the first person to identify the bacterium. And Albert Calmente and Camille Guerin were the first people to make a vaccine for the disease. Another important thing in history was the discovery of penicillin in 1928 by Alexander Fleming. He actually found this bacteria on a petri dish that he had thrown away, and he found that it was killing all of the different types of bacteria that were on the petri dish. This penicillin went on to help cure a lot of diseases, and is actually used in World War II to treat diphtheria, gangrene, pneumonia, syphilis, and tuberculosis. Some of these diseases are actually eradicated in the U.S., like smallpox, but they still occur in the world today, which is important to why we need to focus on some of the diseases that we face in our daily lives. One of these diseases is pneumonia, which affects 450 million people per year, and it kills 4 million people worldwide. And according to the Centers for Disease Control, it is the #1 cause of bacterial death in the world. Another thing that affects us is syphilis bacteria, and it's actually spread from mother to infant through the placenta, and it can be spread through sexual contact also. There's different stages of this disease, which makes it hard to identify, especially in the early stages, and it affects 12 million people per year. The third thing we're going to talk about is E. coli, which is normally in our bodies to help us, and it is actually beneficial, but it's called an opportunistic pathogen, which means that if it has the chance, it can get out of your intestinal tract and actually harm you. 73 cases of this are reported in the United States each year, and it's often caused by contaminated food or water through the fecal-oral route, which is pretty disgusting, but it's actually very common, especially to people who go to developing countries. So these diseases are important, and it's also important to recognize how we can prevent and treat these diseases so we don't get sick. So the first thing we're going to talk about for prevention is vaccines. And the first person to make a vaccine was Louis Pasteur, and that was the rabies vaccine that he injected a little boy with that had gotten bitten by a rampant dog, and he actually ended up saving the little boy's life. And Pasteur actually went on to create an anthrax, tuberculosis, smallpox, and cholera vaccines. The next thing we're going to talk about is antibiotics, and there's lots of different types like cephalosporins, and there's just a lot of types of antibiotics, and they're all used for different types of bacteria. But the bad thing about these is that a lot of times doctors will give you an antibiotic, and it might not be the right antibiotic for the bacteria that you have, and so your body can build immunity, and these bacteria can actually evolve and become more dangerous, and a typically non-harmful bacteria might end up killing you. And the third thing we're going to talk about is proper hygiene, and this can help get rid of a lot of these diseases, which is why a lot of these diseases actually occur in developing countries more often. And it's very important to always wash your hands and cook your food thoroughly, to prevent getting these diseases. So in conclusion, it's very important to know about the history of these diseases in order to fight the diseases that we have today. And it's also very important to prevent and treat these diseases, because you only get one body and you need to take care of it while you can. Thank you.